How we doing, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of FSI's PGA DFS Pick Show. I'm your host, TK Nation 47, joined with John Cool 19. John, it is Scottish Open week, but first let's recap a little bit of the John Deere Classic and what is to come for the upcoming event.
Sure. John Deere Classic went pretty good for me. I had JT Poston in my GPP core, played a lot of McCarthy. I played way too much Adam Schenk, and that blew up my best lines. Unfortunately, it happens sometimes, but we had a lot of good plays going into the week. I did not watch the event. If nothing else, it's anticlimactic when a dude has just that strong of a lead and he's just crushing from start to finish. Good on him. Love JT Poston. Glad I played him. He helped me to not have a bad week in DFS. But too many missed plays with the Shank and Day and a couple others that hurt. So kind of uneventful watching it, but good on him, and super pumped this week to kind of roll it into the Open Championship next week. How was your John Deere?
JDC wasn't too bad, I would say. I had a Cam Davis bet that I was kind of sweating for a second there on Sunday. Poston makes 2 bogeys on the front 9, and Davis is trying to make the turn, and he has a few birdie opportunities. If you would have just made a few of those with some of the short par 4s coming up and a par 5, I mean, you had to have birdied like 5 out of like 7 holes to get caught up to JT Poston, but it's the John Deere Classic. Sure. That can happen. That kind of run can happen, and that kind of, cheering and that kind of energy on the course could really make a difference to the leader that's, watching it unfold in front of him. But that didn't unfold. Cam Davis, parred out, and I kind of turned it off from there. But
sure.
It wasn't a terrible week. We leveled out on DFS and we had a fun moment there on Sunday, but that's it. I'm much looking forward to the Scottish Open, one of the best fields in Scottish Open history, if not the best field in Scottish Open history.
It is.
14 of the top 15 golfers in the world are playing this event. Only Rory McIlroy is not, which is slightly surprising. But he did play a ton of golf around the U.S. Open in the United States. So it looks like he's getting his breather and gearing up for that 150th Open Championship that I'm very much looking forward to as well. Let's break it down. Scottish Open, what to look for at the Renaissance Club in New Burnwick, Scotland.
Sure. New Berwick, if we're saying it right,
Berwick.
Scotland. The Renaissance Club, as you said, this track has hosted the Scottish Open for the last 3 years, so this will be the 4th time. If you're looking at Scottish Open history, don't really go farther back than that as far as some course history. It's a little bit different on the track here. It's a par 71, 7,300 yards, but this has 4 par 5s still and 5 par 3s. So a little bit tricky there. We might put some par 3 scoring into our modeling this week. Certainly want to do par 5 scoring. These par 5s are absolutely gettable. The biggest question we're going to have to ask ourselves on Wednesday is, what is the weather going to do? The weather here, when it kicks up, when Aaron Rai won just a couple of years ago, it was a very, very tough course. I think he won at 11 or 12 under par. And if the weather is calm, the wind is down, we see some soft conditions, we're going to see something more like 18, 19, 20 under par being the winning score. So those are drastically different expectations. So kind of depending on what the weather is looking like, we'll up or down the birdie or better. Certainly putting the windy conditions into our modeling no matter what, because the weekend is going to be windy. It's going to be windy the first couple of days, but really I think it's looking right now, it seems kind of average or below average winds. So we could be a little bit easier, but that could all change in just a minute. This is a coastal course. Things could very quickly pick up as far as weather goes. So that's going to be critical come Wednesday between ownership and weather. Those need to be your first focuses before you even try and create a player pool. So that's kind of our focus there. This is a fescue grass greens. It's a longer green. They're going to be very, very sticky. Kind of a Velcro is what Fantasy National describes it. It is significantly longer grass than that they see week in and week out on the PGA Tour. Much slower, quite different. So I'm not using any of the, I'm just using long-term putting in my modeling.
Yep.
And 3-putt avoidance. These are very difficult greens, undulating. They're quite large, so we're going to see some pretty good numbers on greens in regulation this week. The fairways are quite wide, so we'll see quite a bit of fairways gain, or I should just say fairway accuracy percentage. But I'm still going to kind of include that a little bit. If you miss the fairways here, you're in a lot of trouble. The grass, the thick rough is going to be very difficult. There's a lot of fescue here as well. And it is tree lined on quite a few of the holes. Again, though, it is a bit wide on the fairways, so we should see a good percentage there. So you may want to fine tune if you're looking at drive accuracy to wide fairways or something like that to really find guys that aren't missing wildly. But off the tee, I think is going to be critical this week. We usually always include ball striking, but I'm absolutely going heavier on off the tee numbers. You look at the past few years, the guys who climbed up the leaderboard were doing just, they were gaining the vast majority of their strokes on off the tee. If this is a birdie fest, we're going to need guys who can putt pretty well. But if it gets a bit more difficult, much heavier on the ball striking numbers. I'll put around the greens in there as well, even though they are difficult. Similar to like the John Deere Classic, if you can't get up and down for par, you're in really big trouble here. But it is okay to miss a few greens and get up and down in these birdie fests. It isn't just critical you make every single green, but if you can't get up and down, you're missing a stroke or two. So I am including that. And then last thing, drive distance. We mentioned off the tee, but there is an advantage. If you looked at the guys who finished top 15 or 20 the last couple of years, the vast majority of them were gaining on the field as far as distance goes. And then, like I said earlier, par 3 scoring, there's 3 par 3s over 200 yards, so long par 3s, if you want to put that in your modeling. Par 4 scoring, 450 to 500. There's quite a few holes in that range. And then that par 5 scoring as well. So what I'm probably not including at all this week is proximity numbers, unless you want to just do a general proximity stat. I don't think we have a good read on where these guys are going to come in at. The biggest reason why is this course, although it's 7,300 yards on the card, they can make it a lot shorter on any given day. There's lots of tee boxes. So to try and say, well, they're going to come in at 125 to 150, you don't know that. We're just guessing on any given day. They might move the tee box way back or way forward, and it's a completely different approach yardage. So you can put proximity in, but I'd rather just use approach numbers than trying to hone in on a specific distance there.
That's a really key point too. And the wind direction can also make holes that are typically playing a certain distance longer or shorter than they normally are.
Yeah.
So I definitely, as mentioned to you before we started recording, I was a little lost in the model this week. Usually I rely heavily on that breakdown from Fantasy National. It wasn't available. So all the research John did, hats off to you, was deep dives on the old school way, going probably through the PGA Tour site and looking at the course online, just really zoning in. And so big shout out to you. That's a really good breakdown right there. That's going to hopefully give us the best player pool possible come Wednesday. I'm really looking forward to it now. Awesome stuff from you, John. All right, let's get into some of the picks here. I'm going to go with my favorite off the board, Justin Thomas. Now, most of that has to do with the course history that you see with that T8 in 2001 and that T9 in 2019. But realistically, what it is for me with Justin Thomas, it's his form. This year has been an elite year from JT. Every time he's, a poor showing this year is a 30th. So every time he has a poor showing, he follows it up with a T5 or better. And, that kind of consistency is what I'm looking for, especially in a field like this, where a lot of the big names are here. JT, kind of rises to the top, even when all the big names show up. Won the PGA Championship on Sunday. That was a very, very difficult course. I wouldn't say it's similar to what we're expecting here, but that's a tough track, and JT can win on all courses, and he can play well on all courses. He had gained 13 strokes tee to green at the Canadian Open. I know that's significantly easier, but that kind of form is just what I'm looking for. And when I get to the top, I want consistency. I want a guy that can beat the best, and I know JT is playing like that. First in the model, 7th on the approach. I did put in opportunities gained. I thought, if, these long greens, and I might change that into, that par 3 scoring or that off the tee number. But I did like opportunities gained heading into the video. I did have par fours from 450 to 500 yards. I would get your take on that here in a minute. And I definitely included scrambling. I definitely wanted to see where people were ranking out in their scrambling numbers, because you're going to have to do a lot of that around the green or off the tee, depending on the wind. But I wanted to get at least, I didn't weigh it heavily, but I just wanted to know where were people at with scrambling, knowing this is Scotland, the wind could be brutal and you're not going to know where it's going, the ball's going, and you're going to have to know how to get up and down from very tough situations. For tee to green, I leaned on tee to green pretty heavily as well in my modeling. But go ahead and break down your favorite this week and give me your take on the par fours from 450 to 500.
Yeah, I mentioned that's my favorite distance if you're looking at par fours, the 450 to 500 range.
Yeah.
I think you can absolutely include that in your modeling. Between that and the long par threes, we're talking about half of the holes. It's a good chunk. I like everything you said about Justin Thomas. I think he has a great chance to win here this week. I think he's a super solid bet, as well as starting your lineup with DraftKings there. If you're not going at the very top, I think with Scotty Scheffler, then Justin Thomas is a great option here. For me, Xander Schauffele, though, he's playing just such good golf right now. I like the price at 9,900. As we know, he did win at the Travelers just a couple weeks ago. What you might not know is that the JP McManus Pro-Am, which nobody usually cares about those, but all of the stars were playing in that this week, and actually it became pretty competitive. Xander won that as well. So that is back-to-back competitive or not so competitive events for Xander Schauffele. 2 championships in a row for him. He's going to go for his 3rd straight event, a win. I am kind of joking on that, but certainly he is playing excellent golf right now. He has a top 20 in each of his last 5 events. That includes 14th at the US Open, 13th at the PGA Championship. He has played this event just once. That was in 2021, finished 10th that year. I like that course history for him. He ranks 6th putting on the slow greens. I kind of put just a tick into my model for that. Very good at these slow greens. 2nd on long par threes. And then I try to focus more on some recent numbers, recent tee to green, recent approach. He's 3rd recently tee to green, 1st on approach, 6th in the recent ball striking, a lot there. And if you look a little more long-term, he's top 10 birdies or better, greens in regulation. And he's very good around the greens as well. So I don't know if there's really a big downside to playing Xander here. I think I could probably get up to him in cash. I think I like quite a few of the guys in that low 7K range. That should easily allow me the salary to play somebody right up to about 10K in cash. And Xander, I think, is going to be that first option.
Yeah, Zan probably going to be pretty heavily owned this week, but
Sure.
with good reason, and probably not going to be the one that has the balls to fade him, unless, of course, there's the weather draw disadvantage or something like that comes into play.
Yep.
But tee to green, he is not to be ignored lately, and he is on fire. All right, moving on to the value plays. So to explain this situation, I was told a long time ago, and then have followed through with this, and you bet with your head, not your heart. And Ian Poulter, yes, he's the live villain. Yes, he's bumping guys out of the Scottish Open because of the court injunction that was denied from the DP World Tour to keep him from playing the Scottish Open after already being qualified or eligible. I'm not sure exactly all the details. All I know is the villain, as you can see, is in the field. Ian Poulter is one of these guys. It doesn't matter what form he's in. If he's feeling slighted or he's feeling like, I don't want to say the underdog, but if he's just feeling like the world's against him, that's when he plays his best golf.
Sure.
I remember at the Houston Open, God, it was like, I think 4 years ago, everybody wanted him to lose. And because I think it was a really good feel-good story for Bo Hostler, who I think he was like in a playoff with. And Bo was like choking it. And everyone's like, nah, Ian Poulter. And this guy's pounding his chest on the green after making an 18-foot birdie to win it. He just does it, right? And then if you add the fact that he has the elite course history to go with it, T4, T6, T14, I mean, it's hard to find an elite history outside of that. Maybe Hatton. I thought we said him or Fleetwood could have better history outside of winning the event. But yeah, I'm not a live guy. I'm a big supporter of the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour. I play those events, and I don't know much about the live and don't care to know. But I do know Ian Poulter's in the field, and I'm not passing him up at 6,900.
I think they slighted him as well on tee times. I think they're sending him out in a twosome with one of the other live guys. And then I think the other live golfers that are in as well, they have the very first tee time of the event. So they definitely slighted him on the tee times. Ian Poulter is not getting a favorable draw. Now we'll see what the wind does. Maybe he does get a favorable draw, but sending him out in a twosome is kind of an FU to him just a little bit, but I'm all for it. Yeah, give me some Ian Poulter this week.
He's going to play well. He's going to play well with all that going against him. And, he had a 40th and a 20th on live, but who the hell cares? It doesn't matter where you finish. And a 40th at the Charles Schwab Challenge before he departed into the villain world of live. But anyway, we'll move on to a good guy on the tour, Aaron Rai, a guy that we want to see win, a guy we were playing all year early on, especially on those POA greens, really good on POA. We played him in that Cali swing out there. 2 gloves, Aaron Rai, 7,400, really good on those par fours from 450 to 500 yards. As you mentioned earlier, he won that 2020 Scottish Open. When the conditions were rough, as we mentioned, the conditions on the weekend are looking pretty bad. Really good. Followed up with that win in 2020 with a T35 in 2021, 40th tee to green and 40th in scrambling. He had over 10 strokes gained tee to green at the Canadian Open with 7 up on the approach. It doesn't matter, what the event is. Those are just really good ball striking numbers. And then the week before that at the Travelers, he had a 4.1 tee to green, 3.1 on the approach. So the irons are really in form, heading to a very comfortable course. I think Rye's really safe for cash. And I don't know the ownership yet on him, but I feel pretty good about that. All right, give me your favorite value plays and your take on Poulter.
Yeah, I think Ian Poulter could be a great option here. We'll see how the weather draw shakes out as well as ownership, but I could see myself playing quite a bit of both of these guys. A couple cash plays, a little more expensive in the pricing, but Tommy Fleetwood, you mentioned him a little bit. The course history is really good for him. He finished 26th last year and then was runner-up in 2020. The form for Tommy's pretty darn good too. He's made 9 out of his last 10 cuts on the PGA Tour. That includes 5th at the PGA Championship. He ranks really well, top 10 in windy conditions, really well on those long par 3s. And then he's top 10 kind of long-term around the greens. He plays well on par 5s, greens in regulation, and the approach numbers have been really good. He's top 20 approach just kind of recently here. And then if you just kind of look at across the board, everything that I tossed into my mix model, he's above average in everything. So there's really nothing that he's bad at in the things I'm looking at. I think he is a great option, especially in cash. I don't know if he's going to go out and win in this field, but he has shown in difficult events, especially not stateside, to be able to pop and finish up on the leaderboard. So give me some Tommy Fleetwood, another guy that I've just been hammering the last couple months here. I play him every single event if I can. Max Homa, he's only 8K this week. I like the price a lot. Obviously, with all the stud golfers, it pushes everybody down, but we've been paying well over 8K for Max Homa over the last month or so. He has made each of his last 10 cuts on tour. He was a winner in May at the Wells Fargo, 5th at the Memorial. So the form's right there with the best of them. No course history to speak of here. That's okay. He rates out well in windy conditions, 2nd in recent ball striking, 13th in recent off the tee numbers and recent approach. He is 6th. So a lot to like there. He makes a ton of birdies. He's good on long par 4s, and he rates out top 25 in drive distance as well. I think he's going to be a very popular option. I think just browsing Twitter today, not even trying to find anything on this event, people are talking up Max Homa already. So I'm okay with that if you're playing cash. We'll see about the ownership in GPPs. But these would be 2 guys I feel really comfortable playing almost no matter what.
Yeah, I really like Tommy Fleetwood of the 2 here. It would be typical of Tommy Fleetwood's first PGA Tour win, like championship trophy, would be in Scotland, not even in the United States.
The co-sponsored.
Yeah, right. That would just be a typical Tommy Fleetwood finish. But yeah, I'm gonna be playing Tommy Fleetwood for sure. Max Homa, I'm a little scarred from the US Open, but 8K is it's a price tag play,
Sure.
just really solid price tag. And you look around the names that fall off from that point, and you think Max Homa is twice as good as they are. So why fade? So I really like that as well. All right, going into the sleepers of the week. Going with Patrick Harrington. Look at these eyes. He's ready to play. Links golfer. He's in some great form. 6,700. I say great form, but that's only because of the win on the he is the winner of the United States Senior Open. Kind of stormed the field too. It was over after round 3. Patrick is a typical player here in Scotland, a T18 and a T9. And in the last 2 events, he did miss the cut in his first time out here at the Renaissance Club, but coming in with some great course history, some good form. 30th last week at the Irish Open as well. 3 runner-ups on the Senior Tour this year. 85th tee to green. It's not elite, but hey, the guy's like 60, right? I mean, Patrick Harrington's, most of his ball striking numbers are all on the Champions Tour anyway. So all those miscuts in the much harder US events, I'm not too concerned with. This is just a pure comfortable play from a guy that loves this part of the world, and this is his home turf. He's winner of the Open Championship a couple of times, and yeah, Patrick, never a bad play when it comes to links golf. Your thoughts on him, and who's your favorite sleeper?
Yeah, I think you make a good point as far as fit. We're going to see a lot of guys that are making the cut that either you've never heard of because they play on the DP World Tour or just they're going to be, there's going to be a lot of the PGA golfers who end up miscut this week, and a lot of guys like Audrey Arnaus, is that how you say his name? Yeah, Arnaus, guys like that your common golf fan who's been playing some DraftKings has not been playing guys like Audrey. You're going to see some of these guys, a lot of them, I should say, make the cut. Guys who've played this event 2, 3, 4 times. If you look at the winner, Aaron Rai, as well as the winner last year, Minwoo Lee at this event, they both had good finishes the year before, or at least I think top 30 in their previous attempt. So we're talking about course history being important here, at least to some degree, course familiarity. And I think that Harrington gets a big one up for that. Somebody like Alex Smalley is not going to have that this week. He did pop in my modeling at 6,600. He's the same as Patrick at 250 to 1 odds. I'm looking at the PGA stats on this. Obviously, the PGA being tougher than DP World Tour, but he really pops in a lot of the stat categories I'm looking at. His form is just okay. He's made 4 out of his last 7 cuts, but each of the cuts he's made, he's finished top 30 in that event. 16th this last week at John Deere, 21st RBC Canadian. No course history, though, not familiar here. And I think he is going to be an under 3% owned guy. If you're looking at Vegas odds, he should be probably $500 more expensive, around 7K. I would not be touting him right now if he was a 7K golfer, though. But at the 6,600, he comes in 22nd in that recent ball striking, 11th recent approach, 33rd recent off the tee numbers, rates out well in birdie or better, par 5 scoring, distance, and greens in regulation. Whole lot to like about Alex Smalley. The question is, can he play in these crazy conditions that he is not used to seeing on the PGA Tour? That is to be seen, but the model absolutely loves Smalley. I will take some shots here, 6,600, and then I'm going to play around in this 6 and low 7K range with a lot of these DP World Tour guys. They're going to go under owned. And I'm all about that in the GPP. So, I'm going to be fading a lot of the PGA Tour guys that we would be more comfortable with, or that the model says is a better play, and get on some of these DP guys that are lower owned, and that your common DFS players are not playing these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why I play the DP World Tour week in and week out. It's from the Open Championships, to be prepared for when things like this happen, and I need to know what kind of golfer plays his best in this type of, in this part of the world. And, what are some, form crossovers that I can look at. So that's a big reason why I like to play all contests. I won't have to worry about that with Live if nobody's able to play any PGA Tour, DP World Tour after this season. So that's why I'm not too concerned with that status. But yeah, let's get into the one and done slide. Quite tragic. At one point I was in the top 300. Now I'm 1,300. So backwards is the way I have began this dreaded March. But I'm going with Fitz. I think the form is just too good to pass up on. And hey, I'm running out of studs anyway. And I'm saving Rory for next week. So I'm going to go with Fitz this week and hope he can carry that momentum from the US Open into the Scottish Open. And, I think he can. 12 tee to green, the number one scrambler on my modeling this week. So, all right, Fitzy, let's see if Xander's back-to-back can translate into a Fitzpatrick back-to-back. What are your thoughts?
I absolutely love it. I think Matthew Fitzpatrick might be like top 2 or 3 highest owned golfers this week, even with the elevated price tag. I certainly think he makes sense. I put Jon Rahm on here. I don't know how much I love that because I'm playing Jon Rahm probably either this week or next week as my one and done. I am completely out of studs other than Jon Rahm. So we will see. This is a tentative pick for me at this moment. And if I make a change, certainly our Discord guys will find out. We always like to talk about one and done picks. Yep. Not everybody. Nobody is tailing you and I week in and week out. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing. We've had some good success, quite a few pops. I have been going the correct direction the last few weeks, very, very slowly, but I will take it. I had the T13 from Charles Howell last week. It could have been a little bit better, but that's all right. Positive increase for me. Hopefully that continues this week. And if it's Jon Rahm, then so be it. Otherwise, we'll see who I come up with here. Yeah,
absolutely. Love it. All right, guys, that'll do it. That'll wrap things up for FSI's PGA DFS Pick Show. I'm your host, TK Nation 47. You can follow me on Twitter at that Twitter handle. You can follow John here at John Cool 19, and you can get involved here on our Discord that John was just talking about from our Twitter website, our Twitter handle at FSI_DFS, and our website, FSIDFS.com. All right, guys, it is the Scottish Open. Enjoy the links golf. Enjoy waking up to half the field already being done with their golf round. You'll have much more to do, much to be able to do at night, not watching the end of the golfing rounds. I know I love this kind of stuff. As an insomniac, I love getting up at 2 a.m. for the Open Championship. I can't wait. Maybe for the Scottish Open. This is a really good field. I might, but it's going to be hard to pull that off back-to-back weeks. So it will be. If I can get something going, on Saturday and Sunday, I'm getting up early. So
yeah, what I like best is we can get up-to-date weather information like 2, 3, 4 hours before tee off instead of trying to evaluate the weather 8, 9, 10 hours before tee off. I'm all for that because this week, probably more than any week over the last few months, it could change on a dime, and we want to be able to follow that for DFS. We've had some really good success a handful of weeks, just hammering one wave at one side of the wave or the other. I don't know that that'll happen right now, but if it does, we're going to be able to evaluate that much closer to lock.
Absolutely. All right, guys, enjoy the Scottish Open, and we'll see you next week.
Good luck.